Hi, I'm Dee Good. I'm with Shambhala Mountain Center, and I'm excited today to be talking with Rob Dube, who is an entrepreneur who has worked a lot with mindfulness in his business and in his personal life. And also, Rob is going to be leading a retreat for SMC called Leading with Genuine Care Leadership Retreat. So, welcome, Rob.
Thank you, Dee. It's a pleasure to know you and to be here to share a little bit about the retreat.
Yeah, I'm curious. It used to be that leadership was all about control and management and efficiency. And tell me about leading with genuine care and how that evolved for you.
Right. Think about that. How could we lead with genuine care in our businesses and really actually make it viable? Is that possible? I think when you say control, the thing that comes to mind for me is this term that is often used within business, which is command and control. And that was a way of a business approach that would date back many years. But nowadays we have the unique opportunity to be a bit more educated and be able to look deeper into ourselves as leaders. And when we're able to do that, we can have a better understanding for those around us. And as it relates to business, because it also translates into our everyday lives, which is, as important, if not more important. But within our organizations, we can truly look at the importance of the humans that are doing the stuff at our companies. We're all really proud of the things that we're doing at our companies. Some of it is basic, like we're selling widgets, and some of it might be groundbreaking, like we're curing diseases. But at the end of the day, we're just a bunch of humans that are trying to do stuff. And when as leadership, we realize the way to show up is through servant leadership, and really putting extreme focus on your day when you come in, and what can you do to serve? What can you do to be a lifter upper and not a dragger downer, and provide a unique experience for the people that are part of your organization or the people that you lead. And it's such an honor. It's an honor and a gift that those of us that are in leadership positions have been given. And when you have that sort of responsibility, I would say it's important to take it very seriously. And so the retreat enables us, gives us some of the teachings that help us to learn how we might slow down so we can actually speed up. We start really in the foundation of it all is really just learning the mindfulness practices, the meditation practices, and what that is like, from as simple as just how do you get yourself set up? How should it feel physically? And then what's all this happening in my mind? And is that normal? And we help you understand that better. So when you are back in your regular life, your ordinary life, you understand how your practice is evolving and how it can serve you. Because the practice really shows up when you're in your organization and you have something stressful happening. And of course, there's that moment between stimulus and response. And that's the moment that you get to choose. And you get to choose whether it's happiness or something else. And so you can start to notice those moments, and you might pause and give yourself a moment to determine how you might respond. And it's a millisecond. When you practice it long enough, it isn't a long pause, it's a short pause, but you notice it. And that's the big difference. And that can make a difference in your team members' lives just how you respond, both with your words and even just your physical being, the energy that you exude. So those are some of the foundational places that we start.
It sounds like you focus on a little bit of self-care and, mindful awareness of what's happening within you, so that then you can offer that or be more of service in your business relationships.
Right. It's been said many times before, you when you're on the plane, you put the mask, if there's a problem on the plane, they say, put the mask on yourself first, and then you take care of those with you. And in our society, those of us that want to serve, oftentimes, or that have a servant mindset, oftentimes we take great pride in serving. So much so that we actually don't take the time to set ourselves up to best serve. So while we're trying to do our best, there's a lot of emotions that are happening and bubbling up within us, whether we realize it or not. These can be emotions like anxiety and stress, it can be anger, frustration, and that energy is felt by those that you're serving, even when you're doing your best to serve them best. And so when you can cultivate a practice, a mindfulness practice in all aspects of your life, it's good for you. It's good for your mind. It's good for those close to you. And it's really good for your leadership as well, and those that you serve within your organization. They'll recognize it over time.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of people come to your retreats like this? You've been doing this for a while, yeah?
Yes. Well, it's people in leadership positions in some way, shape, or form in all kinds of organizations. This could be for-profit, entrepreneurial ventures. This could be finance, private equity, healthcare, nonprofit. It doesn't really matter, because whatever the stuff is that the people are doing within their organizations, we all have the same challenges. And the challenges usually that are most significant revolve around people and the humans that we surround ourselves with each and every day, or that we're surrounded by. And it's really our ability to tap into the humanity and the differences in a good way, the unique differences that we all have as humans, that when you bring it together and it's approached in the right way, it's magical. It's magical. And so those are the kinds of people that are coming, and they have a curiosity about how they can bring their leadership to another level. But what's interesting about it, and that we have found from past participants, is that while it certainly helps them in their business, the byproduct is that it's really helping them in their life. And all of a sudden, there's significant others are starting to notice that they're a little different. Their kids are noticing, if they have kids, that they're a little different. And their friends and family, people close to them are recognizing this. And I received this feedback from people. And so if it takes the idea that you'll be a better leader to get you there, that's great. But this will be very impactful for the totality of your life. So know that, and that you can just call that icing on the cake if you'd like.
That's wonderful. I was just about to ask, what can people expect as they you described a little bit about what people can expect during the retreat, you know, that
Mhm.
they'll learn mindfulness practices and how to work with that and how to recognize what's happening in our thought streams.
Yes.
And then how does that transition back um, into day-to-day life, you know, with
Right.
at home and at work?
Well, here's what I notice in our primary teacher, Janet Sledges, who's been teaching for, I don't know, well over 30 years. Um, and she is amazing. She really is. She will help us make our way back into our ordinary lives that we've been away from for 4 or 5 days. And I say ordinary lives because, you know, we're at the beautiful Shambhala Mountain Center on this land that has an amazing energy that you and I were speaking about prior to recording. It's special. And and so when you're driving down the mountain, you know, back into, again, as we say, I like to say, our ordinary lives, you know, Janet will always say, be careful as you drive down the mountain, you know, and be mindful about how you share your experience with others when you return home to the many places all over the world. People come to this retreat from all over the world because those people have been living their ordinary lives and they haven't had this experience, and it will be challenging for them to relate to it. So Janet does a really wonderful job instructing us in just how to make our way back into this ordinary life that we live, and then how to use this tool in our toolbox, so to speak, as we make our way through life. And, you know, one of the things that has always stuck out with me over my many years of practice is that it really is practice. And when we're sitting in meditation, this is our time to practice understanding, coming back to the present moment and right here, right now. And and where that starts to become useful is when you're not sitting. It's when you're in your everyday life, say in a meeting at your organization, and you feel strongly about something. And there are other people in the room who are, you know, feeling differently. And they are exuding an energy that feels challenging. And you're starting to feel defensive, like you want to make a big case about it. And you're starting to feel, you know, bubbling up of frustration. But then you notice. And so before you react, you pause and you understand that those in the room want the same thing you want. They want the same positive and successful outcome. And that helps you in your response to them. Have a healthier and more open discussion. People recognize when your mind is open to new ideas and new thoughts, and they recognize when it isn't. And it almost doesn't matter what your words are. They feel your energy. And when you're able to make that shift in your everyday life, whether it be at business, and again, as it translates into your non uh, whatever business you're in or organization life, it can make a big difference. And so, you know, Janet is really wonderful about helping us be prepared for that.
Mm. Well, it sounds really delightful. And I wonder, do people connect again after the retreat? Are there
One of the
people stay in touch?
byproducts, yeah, one of the byproducts is that people do make these friendships remarkably in silence. In the many retreats that I've done, you may have a similar experience. It's pretty amazing how you get to know people somewhat intimately, actually, when you're in silence. You start to notice things. There's a heightened sense. And so if you and I were on a retreat together for some period of time, I might come up to you, and having never spoken a word to you, and I might feel like I know you on some level. It's quite interesting, actually. And so what I've noticed is that people have stayed connected. And icing on top of the icing is that I have seen people help each other with challenges within their organizations. I've seen business transactions that have taken place as a result of people's connection on this retreat, because you are with like-minded people and there is a basis of trust, just the sense that you're there in this same way together, experiencing this together. It builds a unique trust that does carry over post-retreat. And so, yes, that's a wonderful question. I'm glad you asked it. And if I could kind of segue, I wanted to share a little bit more about the land, if that's okay, Dee.
Please do.
Okay. Because the land, from my experience after all these years, as I mentioned earlier, it really is something I never realized and didn't think much about upon arrival. I just thought I was going for a retreat and I was kind of focused on that. But as I was able to explore the land and the evenings, how I felt, and I started to wonder what this energy and what this feeling was. And I was fortunate enough to, at some point, go on a hike with Michael Gaynor, who's the executive director and a remarkable person, a remarkable leader. And I'm sure I don't really know how many people understand the land like him, but I can't imagine there are many. And I mean, he must know every nook and cranny of that place. And so he took me on a hike and on different occasions and shared with me some of these nooks and crannies and some of the meanings around it and some of the meanings around some of the energy that I may have been feeling. And I said, Michael, would you do this with the group? And he agreed. And so we've been going on these hikes with him that are they're not strenuous, and he shares so much about the land and about the ecosystem there. I mean, I remember one time I saw, not too long ago, some trees that were down. And I said, well, why'd you take those trees down? It was so beautiful. And he explained to me how the trees needed space to breathe so they could thrive. And when they thrive, how the rest of the land around it and extended beyond it thrives. But when they're close together and contracted, it can't thrive in the same way. So there's an example, and a pretty simple one that I learned. But I also learned about the spirit rocks there, and I'll leave that to those to experience on their own. I won't.
Sounds like an amazing journey, and thank you so much for giving us a glimpse into that, into the retreat, and
I'm
into
glad I could.
The forces and influences behind it.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do it, and we hope to see many, many people who find it interesting and people who are curious about it come on out, and we hope to see you.